Flags flying at half-staff across the West tonight, honoring the 18 lives lost in Maine's mass shooting. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. People across the country continuing to monitor the latest developments from Maine tonight. The heavily armed police forces have surrounded the home of the man who is suspected of shooting and killing 18 people and wounding 13 others. They have been using a megaphone tonight to order that suspect, Robert Card, or anyone else at this home to come out. State police say investigators are not sure whether Card is in fact inside. They've been searching for him ever since last night's mass shooting in the town of Lewiston. And that tragedy unfolding as a Seattle area school prepares for a mass shooting drill. Fox 13's Matt Smith spoke with the drill's coordinator about what he is hoping that students will learn.
Here in Seattle, a mass shooting training was already on the books at Bishop Blanchett High School.
Let's do it in a way that empowers them.
Jesus Villahermosa is the expert training students. After decades of mass shootings, his goal is to teach students strategies that are flexible rather than one size fits all. He says we need to pay more attention to preventing shooters, often men.
You would think that someone by now would create a curriculum tailored specifically to boys, starting at 6 years old, that would teach them emotional intelligence, so that when a girl breaks up with you, it isn't the end of the world and makes you want to kill people like at Marysville-Pilchuck High School. His girlfriend broke up with him. I mean, that's the impetus, right?
Villahermosa makes it a point to say no law, no expert, no psychologist has a proven answer. Gun Violence Archive describes a mass shooting as 4 or more people shot or killed by a gunman. This here is the mapping of this year's shootings. The numbers have been going up every year since 2018, except 2022, when as a country we still topped 600. And while gun laws are the focus often post-shooting, Villahermosa says it just hasn't worked yet.
I cried a little bit earlier. I might cry again.
Here in Washington, changes in law have drawn both cheers and criticism. Robert Shentrop, seen here at the governor's assault weapon ban bill signing earlier this year, said that he lost his sister in the notorious Parkland, Florida shooting. That drove him to join Team Enough.
We can't continue to sit on our hands and, just say thoughts and prayers is enough.
Today, their national chapter coordinator said gun control laws are key, pointing to a dip in shootings following a federal assault weapons ban.
In this country where we have more guns than people, we need to continue to do more to make sure that guns don't fall into the hands of people who shouldn't have guns.
And that was Fox 13's Matt Smith reporting for us tonight. Maine has a so-called yellow flag law that's designed to help reduce gun violence. Yellow flag laws usually allow a court order to remove weapons from a person who has threatened to harm someone pending a mental health evaluation. States with so-called red flag laws don't usually require a mental health evaluation before weapons are removed. Dr. Amy Barnhorst with the UC Davis Gun Violence Prevention Center says it's difficult to determine whether red flag laws are more effective at preventing mass shootings.
We can't say for sure that mass shootings that these red flag laws were used to prevent would have happened. But one of the studies that some colleagues at the center where I work have looked at 6 different states across the nation, and they've looked at hundreds of these orders that were filed because somebody had threatened active mass violence or mass shooting, and none of those mass shootings took place.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is using a social media post today to put pressure on lawmakers to strengthen gun laws at the federal level. He criticized newly elected House Speaker Mike Johnson for not addressing the issue of gun law reform today. The speaker today called for Americans to pray for all of the mass shooting victims in Maine. The trial is underway for the captain of a dive boat that caught fire off the Santa Barbara County coast, killing 34 people. It was the deadliest maritime disaster in recent U.S. history. Jerry Boylan is facing a federal misconduct charge. During opening statements, federal prosecutors said Boylan was responsible for the safety of the people on board and was the first person to jump off the burning ship. I talked with legal analyst Michael Cardoso about what it will take for prosecutors to prove the captain is criminally responsible for those deaths.
I know they have a video of one of the victims, and I'm sure at some point near the beginning, they will use that video to show us what it was like downstairs as the smoke billowed into the sleeping quarters and the fires wouldn't allow the people sleeping downstairs out. Once they put that in, Then they're going to put experts up to say what the law mandates and what maritime law says about when you're at sea, when you're a commercial boat, what you are to do. And they will show through those experts where the captain violated a lot of those laws.
So the public defender who's representing the ship's captain in this case, in opening statements, tried to cast blame on the owner of that vessel, essentially saying that he didn't pay for fire training, didn't require that you have a night watchman on duty overnight. What about this argument that the captain is just following the protocols that have been set forth by the owner of the ship?
It's a good argument by the public defender, because we used to call it the empty chair defense, where you get up and the defense attorneys would get up and point to an empty chair, say, where's the owner? He's at fault. He was the one that should pay for the training of the men on the ship or the women. He should pay to keep up the hoses and all the equipment on the ship. Where is he? Now, as a prosecutor, and you know I did that for a long time, I would want that owner there. And what you would then have would be both defendants in the case doing this, not me, him. So in effect, what the prosecution would do would get another prosecutor in that courtroom, because one and or both of the defense attorneys would be pointing to the other defendant, saying, not my fault, his fault. I don't know why they're not prosecuting the owner, but I'll tell you, they should be prosecuting this owner.
The ship's captain faces 10 years in prison if convicted. Today in Idaho, a judge dismissed Brian Koberger's request to throw out the quadruple murder indictment against him. The 28-year-old accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last year during a home invasion. The defense argued there is grand jury bias, inadmissible and insufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct in the case. But a judge denied the motion. If convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder, Koberger could face the maximum penalty, death by firing squad. The federal government is launching a new strategy to combat fentanyl and rolling it out in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Portland. The Border Patrol says the plan is to target the materials used to make the drug, like molds and presses used to form pills, as well as chemicals. Officials say agents will work with the Postal Service and shipping companies to track down suspicious goods. In Washington state, authorities now say a police officer died after overdosing on fentanyl and meth. Sergeant Richard Kelly with the Battleground Police Department was found unconscious in his office while on duty back in August. The investigation concluded his death was more likely caused by an intentional act and not workplace exposure. The department's chief said in a statement, quote, Sergeant Kelly's unexpected passing was a significant and traumatic event for his coworkers, family, and friends. Substance abuse is a serious problem that often goes unsuspected and undetected. The off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot charged with trying to take down a commercial jet appeared in federal court for the first time today. Prosecutors say the Bay Area man tried to cut the engines of a Horizon flight that was heading from Washington to SFO while he was riding in the cockpit jump seat. Federal prosecutors have charged Joseph Emerson with interfering with a flight crew, which can carry up to 20 years in prison. Court documents show Emerson told police he'd had a nervous breakdown, was struggling with depression, and hadn't slept in 40 hours. Today, Emerson's attorney said his client was not suicidal or homicidal.
He is grateful for their timely and heroic actions, and especially with the flight attendants, they were very kind and they were very understanding. He would also like to, we would also like to say that, and he would like to reiterate that he had no intention to harm himself or anybody on the airplane when he acted.
Emerson is set to return to federal court next month for his arraignment. He's pleaded not guilty to state charges of attempted murder. Well, it looks like something you might see in a movie. Masked men pulling off an apparent robbery on a busy Southern California freeway. Fox 11's Laura Diaz, spoke to one man who got it all on camera.
That car had, flat, another one chasing that. Oh yeah, let me catch up.
The video picks up about 1:30 Tuesday afternoon in broad daylight on the busy 10 freeway east near the Crenshaw exit.
Oh, yep, there they go swinging. They swinging.
The voice you hear is a driver also headed east. He spots the black sedan speeding in front of him, driving wildly through LA traffic, and gives chase. His cell phone is rolling.
At first, I thought it was a hit and run gone bad, but it turns out to be something more serious. It was a robbery in progress.
The video is jaw-dropping. Look off to the right of the screen. Several cars on the shoulder of the freeway. Suddenly, a crew of at least 4 people wearing masks, dark clothing, and hoodies exit a van. They run toward the wrecked and smoking car disabled on the side of the freeway. Eerily, the driver of the wrecked sedan is seen kneeling with both hands in the air. It appears that they are ransacking the victim's car, a brazen daytime robbery.
It was about 4 or 5 guys with masks. They were ransacking a black car that they forced off the road. He didn't say much, but then they said, "Where's the jewels?" So it turns out they knew exactly who he was.
Our eyewitness, not the only one rolling. Look at this. A man standing outside his car appears to be recording the entire disturbing incident on his cell phone. He's just feet away from the swarming crew. You can see the mangled bumper in one shot, and the suspects get dangerously close to the man with the cell phone. But then they jump back into their vehicles and speed away. No injuries reported, but a harrowing event.
I was shocked at first, to be honest, because I haven't seen anything like that personally. I thought I was on a movie set.
And that was Fox 11's Laura Diaz reporting tonight. The other man seen recording images at the scene was not hurt. What the masked men took from the scene remains unclear tonight. The search still ongoing for those men. Coming up here on West Coast Wrap tonight, debate intensifies over who gets to pump gas in Oregon. Coming up, why some people want gas station rules to change. Also, see what happens when a bear gets inside a Colorado hotel kitchen.
From the KTVU Weather Center in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area, I'm Roberta Gonzalez talking about the chill in the air anywhere west of the Rockies. We have your West Coast weather forecast. That's all coming up after this brief time out. Stay with us.
Southern California rabbis who went on a humanitarian aid mission to Israel are back home tonight. The Shabbat of Bel Air shared these images from their trip before the rabbis arrived at LAX this morning. The rabbis visited a hospital helping those injured during Hamas's initial attack back on October 7th. They also spoke with people who have lost loved ones in the war. Rabbi Chaim Mentz says he worked to lift spirits during the trip, but it was tough.
I know I'm always upbeat. I am upbeat now, too. These are our brothers. These are our sisters. All right, I'm going to go back and bring light. It's the only way to snap out of this.
The rabbis delivered 100 suitcases full of supplies and monetary donations to that region. New numbers out today make this conflict the deadliest of the 5 Gaza wars for both sides. An estimated 7,000 Palestinians and 1,400 Israelis have been killed. Earlier today at a UN meeting, the Palestinian ambassador pleaded for Israel to stop bombing the Gaza Strip. And Israel's envoy said they will not rest until Hamas is obliterated. Also today, a senior Iranian diplomat met with a representative from the Kremlin to discuss the situation in Gaza in a shared attitude of trying to stabilize the Middle East. A labor union in Oregon wants to bring back full-service fueling at gas stations, which had been the norm for more than 70 years. But some Oregon drivers strongly disagree. Fox 12's Deborah Gill has the details tonight.
It was just August that the new bill went into effect that allows Oregonians to pump their own gas, but now a local union is leading the effort to repeal the self-serve gas bill. Oregon's legislature approved House Bill 2426 in June after a lot of debate on whether it would be good for the state. After not having that option since the 1950s, Oregonians could finally pump their own gas. But the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 555 wants to repeal the law and has filed an initiative petition to overturn it. They call it a matter of accessibility for everyone who may not be able to pump or don't feel secure and safe doing it, and job security for the workers who lost their jobs. We spoke with Oregon drivers about their experience filling up at the pump these past few months, and opinions are divided.
There were a lot of times that I would pull in and wait for gas for like 20 minutes since the new legislation took effect, that I've saved hours for sure.
I preferred having people do it for me, not only because I have 3 kids, but just because it's been like that in Oregon my whole life.
The new law required stations to keep attendants at half of their pumps and the other half to be self-serve. The union now must wait for a ballot title from the Secretary of State and begin gathering signatures. The union says they need to finish these next steps by next July, and then voters will be able to decide if they want to overturn the new law next year. In Beaverton, Deborah Gill, Fox 12 Oregon.
Now to our weather here in the west. In Northern California, snow falling in parts of the Sierra. This is video from the UC Berkeley Snow Lab in Soda Springs, right off Interstate 80 near the summit. The lab says it's received almost 4 inches of snow over the last 24 hours. A lot of drivers along the interstate were just expecting this to be rain, so many were unprepared and they did not have their tire chains with them. You got to be ready if you're heading up to the mountains. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, tracking conditions across the west. We are seeing things get a lot colder and a lot of folks getting snow.
But Alex, when you say unprepared, that's not acceptable because Mark Tamayo was forecasting snow, right?
It's true.
Yeah, and they saw it. Seems like a little too early, right? Here in the San Francisco area, today we had lots of sunshine, but that snow in Tahoe was all associated with the smattering of precipitation experienced yesterday. Today clearing out with the passage of that cold front at 67 degrees, down from the average high of 69 degrees. Meanwhile, let's head on over to Seattle. The high temperature 53 degrees once the clouds did clear and a little bit of rain passed through the Bay Area as well as the Pacific Northwest. And then in Denver, the high temperature today only in the upper 40s when the average high is 64 degrees. In Denver, you're going to have a mix of freezing rain and snow by Saturday with 3 to 6 inches of snow by Sunday. Meanwhile, we're talking about 67 degrees to 77 degrees in the Las Vegas area by Friday. 85 degrees. That's lovely in Phoenix for this time of the year. 70 degrees apiece in Los Angeles and in San Diego. And it will be cooler anywhere from San Francisco in the Bay Area all the way north into Seattle. All because of a system out over the Pacific Northwest and out over the Pacific Ocean. It's really unorganized, as you can see clearly here on this imagery. It's maturing way too early, way out over the open water. So it's just going to toss some clouds into the forecast, but also it's pulling down some cooler air mass out of Canada, out of Alaska. This is surging down in a northerly direction, and as it does so, we have some frost advisories going into effect across the northwestern quadrant of the state of California, primarily around Del Norte, Humboldt, and also Mendocino County, while the Pacific Northwest will be clearing out in frosty conditions tonight as well. This area of low pressure way out over the open waters promises some rain showers, but not into the Bay Area. In fact, we're forecasting a cooler day due to that system in the Seattle area, 61 to 63 in San Francisco, gorgeous across Southern California. And again, Denver, you're going to have that mixture of sleet and snow on Saturday, maybe about 1 inch in accumulation as far as your snow is concerned, but 3 to 6 inches as previously mentioned by Sunday. So again, if you're heading into the Bay Area, anywhere around the West Coast to the Pacific Northwest and into Southern California, clear skies, but some very cold conditions. Alex?
All right, Roberta, thank you. An unwelcome guest shows up inside a Colorado hotel. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, the scary moment for one of the hotel's employees. Also, we'll show you how the World Series bound Arizona Diamondbacks are working to get kids into more than baseball.
You know, they live here and they've always lived here. So, you know, we have to learn to live with them.
People in Southern California's Santa Monica Mountains on alert tonight after a mountain lion attack. Operators of Malibu Solstice Canyon Recreation Area reopened the site today, 2 days after a dog walker was injured. They say a mountain lion went after a dog on a walk in this area earlier this week. The person walking the dog intervened, and they are recovering now after suffering a puncture wound. The dog was not hurt. A security guard at an upscale Colorado hotel had to deal with an unwelcome guest. A bear somehow got into the kitchen at the St. Regis Resort in Aspen, Colorado, and it was captured on surveillance video. You can see him walking around. The security guard headed to the kitchen to see what was going on. The guard turned the corner and surprised the bear. Well, they both were really surprised here. The bear took a swipe at the guard, knocking him to the ground. The guard was able to get away and called 911. He was treated for scratches on his back. The bear was tracked down, deemed a threat to humans, and unfortunately had to be euthanized. The Arizona Diamondbacks may be focused on their World Series run right now, but they want some of their youngest fans to pay attention to more than just baseball. Fox 10's Irene Snyder shows us how they're redirecting some kids' energy.
I was so surprised and happy that I was going to cry.
Kids at ASU Prep Academy are getting an extra special surprise visit today. The Arizona Diamondbacks mascot swinging by several classrooms ahead of the team's World Series run.
It's a very big deal for our city and our state.
Darren says he's been a fan for most of his young life and is proud to see his home team go all the way.
I think they're gonna win because I like my hometown and I really love the Diamondbacks, and I like when they play because it really gives me confidence that they're gonna win.
The mascot's also handing out books meant to catch the students' attention, featuring Baxter and connecting baseball to STEM.
They get to see what they work on in a literature with fun characters like Baxter. So they get to see the actual character and see him in a book.
The book was developed through a partnership between the D-backs and Honeywell.
It's really important for the D-backs that we go out in the community and we not only get kids interested in baseball, but also encourage them that there's careers out there that are related to baseball and STEM, and also to just encourage kids to shoot high academically.
The goal is to make reading fun. So whether the D-backs win or lose, this is a home run.
I hope they win, though. I'm a fan of the Diamondbacks. I'm a fan.
Irene Snyder, Fox 10 News.
Yeah, a lot of fans across Arizona pulling for the Diamondbacks here as they head toward the World Series, especially those young fans. Great to see the team inspiring those students. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for West Coast Wrap. We appreciate you watching. You can always stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online. Just head to our website. That is westcoastwrap.com. We hope you have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow night.